Hello again and welcome to Foreplay Radio Sex Therapy. I'm your host, certified sex therapist Laurie Watson, author of Wanting Sex Again, and blogger at Psychology Today and WebMD. And I have with me Dr. Adam Mathews, my co-host, who's a couples therapist, psychotherapist, and president of NCAMFT. Foreplay is dedicated to helping couples keep it hot. Each episode, we cover an aspect of sex that impacts your sex life and something that you can relate to. So if you find our discussions helpful, please give us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. We would love it if you would tell a friend about us. You can find us also on the web at foreplayrst.com. And if you have a comment or a topic that you'd like us to talk about, we'd love to hear from you. Please send them to us at info@foreplayrst.com. Thanks for listening. Now on to today's topic. Hello.
Hi, Laurie. How are you? How was your weekend?
It was great. I had my college son home, and that was always a wonderful thing to see him.
You love it when your sons are home, right?
I do. He has this massive beard. It's like this really college-age kid beard that makes him look like a crazy man. And he's going to a job fair. And I really try to stay out of it, but this one I've been nagging about. It's like, please get that trimmed. And fortunately, on his own, he got his hair cut, which is really cute. And the girl was like this men's specialist hairstylist, so she trimmed the sides, so it's still really long. But he's got a new suit. It's a good thing.
Let me ask you, how do women feel about the trend in the last 5-6 years toward bringing beards back? Where are women are feeling facial hair? I'm sure it varies.
I like beards.
You like
Adam's
beards?
Got a beard.
I've got a beard, but I don't have the long crazy. I don't have the long hunter crazy man. Beard. I have friends that have that. No.
Probably not as cute. I have a patient who is like scruffy, and his mother is so funny. Was like saying, oh, you got to shave or something. And I'm just like, oh, no, I just nagged my son to shave his beard. But scruffy is totally in, too, right? I mean, it's hot.
Scruffy is hot?
Scruffy is hot.
All right.
Yeah, it looks like the man who...
Not neat and trimmed, but a little scruffy.
Yeah, kind of unshaven, 2 days unshaven that... Okay. He's been working out and
see that is hot. So hard to maintain. I don't think that actually actually takes to be the right level of scruffy. That takes more work than either being clean shaven or having a beard. That's the top level of preening, honestly. So if you see the guy with the 2-day scruff, he has taken a long time to look. He's taken a long time to look that way.
The product in his hair. Yeah, that's a serious look.
He has gone.
And the blue jeans and the jacket. He is probably a blazer.
He's probably had to rip his own. He's had to rip his own jeans.
That's hot.
Okay. All right, Derek.
Okay.
I hope you're taking notes right now. Laura's getting a little flushed.
My husband is serious hot. Yeah,
there you go.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to increase sexual frequency today. How to get more of it.
Yeah, that's what everybody says that they want. More men, but women too. I hear a lot of women saying that they are not getting enough sex in their coupled relationship.
That's right.
So it's coming from both sides, honestly.
Both sides. Yeah. So I read this study, and we're going to credit them. It's by Schoenfeld, Loving, Pope, Houston, and Stolhofer, and it was just published in 2017 in the journal, the Archives of Sexual Behavior. And I do kind of want to bring people good research about what's out there, because people are studying these things. It's not just opinion, it's not just what we're saying, but we want to bring you.
Stuff up.
We're not just making it up. Okay, basically this study was, does sex really matter? They wanted to examine the connections between behavior, frequency, satisfaction, sexual satisfaction, and marital satisfaction. The assumption is if the marriage has more sex, then people are happier.
Was that true?
That was not true.
Really?
Really.
So the higher sex, more sex, did not equal happy marriage.
It did not. So all the other things did kind of correlate with what you would expect, that positive behavior from both partners, of course, made for more happiness, more marital satisfaction, that meaningful sex was what made for both sexual satisfaction and marital satisfaction.
So did they talk about the difference between what meaningful sex meant?
Yes, they did.
What constituted meaningful
okay,
sex?
so meaningful sex was basically connected emotional sex. And this was not just for women. It was for men as well, which I think, we think of it as, okay, women want it to be meaningful and men want it to be, hot and fast. A lot of women, we like it hot and fast too sometimes. It's not that. I think it's dicey when we talk about gender differences, but this really did talk about some differences. But in this case, both genders preferred sex that was emotionally richer.
So what we've been saying all along, they proved our points.
They proved our points, which is kind of why I like the study.
Yeah.
But, okay, to get more sex, though, let's say that is still a goal. There was one correlate with that, and that was the husband's positive behaviors toward his wife were tied to higher sexual frequency. So this was, to me, a little bit of bad news for my female patients who want more sex, because there was no correlate with her positive behaviors toward him that increased or seemed to be able to increase sexual frequency.
So it fell on the husband.
It was very dependent. Yeah, it was very dependent on his positive behaviors. And the other problem is once the marriage was distressed, his positive behaviors didn't necessarily turn it around. Yeah, so this is like a maintenance thing. Once the marriage is good, his positive behaviors correlated with more sexual frequency.
That puts a lot of pressure on the guy, it seems, right?
It did.
In the very beginning.
In fact, Gottman's research, he was quoted in here with other research, and I'm sorry I don't have the whole study, but it was him and a partner, but basically said that a marriage, the strongest predictor of marital unhappiness was male negativity. Female negativity was not the strongest indicator of unhappiness in the marriage. It was his unhappiness, his negative behaviors that most strongly correlated with overall marital unhappiness.
How does that make sense for you, just from a common sense standpoint? Like, I mean, does it, when you think about your couples, so I'm trying to think of the couples that come see me in my head and other couples that I know, that seems a bit counterintuitive to ideas about that it takes two to tango, so to speak. That it's both involved. So, like, how would you explain that from a layperson's perspective?
That's a great question, Adam. I think that, the study did talk about how everything impacted everything. So, certainly male negative behavior impacted female negative behavior. Female negative behavior did impact male negative behavior, and vice versa. So let me answer the first part of your question, though. You said, why would it be the male negative behavior that's more powerful? And I think that in part, oftentimes men do have more power traditionally have had more power in the marriage, and also they're less responsive to their wives' sort of behavior or emotional states. So if you're a guy, either you misread, which might be good. Like if she's in a bad mood, you just might not notice. That in some ways, it's like he's not as attuned to her bad moods. Or you misread it. That could go the other way as well, right? You misread just a look or whatever, and then you're off to the races. But overall, him having traditionally more power and not being as responsive, his withdrawal, it's typical for a man, right? In attachment theory, it's more men who would be withdrawing. So their defense structure says, I'm not going to be as impacted by you. I'm not going to care as much about if many things, your needs, your negative criticism of me. And so in some ways they set up this little barrier. They don't feel as impacted by it, and therefore they're not quite as unhappy.
So is that, let me make sure I'm understanding.
It was a confusing study, so we got to sort it out.
One of the things that I hear in that is this correlate sometimes that people throw out there of the person that cares the least in the relationship has the most power.
Yes.
Is that similar to what we're talking about?
I think there is something, right? If you're the one longing, you're the pursuer or the anxiously attached person, and your partner is withdrawing and says, I don't really care about something, then it's hard to make them be motivated to come your direction, right?
So
men say this most traditionally about women. Well, she doesn't care about sex, therefore she's controlling the relationship.
So because men traditionally fill that role, they tend their behaviors toward their spouse tend to have more impact than the female partner's positive moves toward their husbands.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's right. When he's actually moving toward her, it tends to create a climate that is conducive to her wanting more sex. This is a crazy one. But one of the things they did when they were matching things up in this research was that the couple who was the male pursuer, the guy who moved toward her in terms of positive behaviors, and the female who was negative, had the most sex. So if you're married to kind of a witchy bitchy woman, and you're really you stay positive, you might be having a lot of sex. I'm not sure that they answered why that is. I think my own guess was that maybe he connects sexually. So in order to restore balance, he uses his warmth and affection, to get back to her, to reconnect with her. So his bid is for reconnection is more sexual. Yeah. He's there's a lot more sex.
Yeah, I would wonder too if that in part is because if he's exhibiting positive behaviors and she is being more negative, that what he's really conveying is an acceptance no matter how you are, that he's being positive in the face of the most negativity that she can throw.
So maybe he's a securely attached person.
Yeah.
And we're not sending this message out there that we approve of this or we're suggesting, anything about an outcome here. We're just talking about the study.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very interesting twist to things.
But I think maybe, and we can talk about this after the break, is that for men, I think a lot they may hear, well, it's dependent on me to be positive, and they go, I am positive, right? And I am doing that, and I'm still not getting anything from it. So maybe we can talk about some ways that either they mentioned or some other ideas that we have about how men can be more positive toward their partners to be able to maybe increase the frequency and the sexual satisfaction in their relationship.
Okay, this is Foreplay Radio Sex Therapy. We'll be right back.
Wanting sex again. How to rediscover desire and heal a sexless marriage by certified sex therapist Laurie Watson.
Each chapter is designed to fix one of the problems that cause low libido, from early marriage through the childbearing years, even all the way through menopause. I've also had men read it and tell me that for them it was the most hopeful thing they read about resolving sexual problems.
Look for Wanting Sex Again on Amazon.com. You can also talk to Laurie Watson for therapy in person or via Skype.
I offer couples counseling and sex therapy, and I think about both aspects of the relationship, emotional intimacy and sexual technique, and that combination together helps marriages be happy.
Improve your sex and improve your relationship with Awakening Center for Couples and Intimacy. Find out more at awakenloveandsex.com. Awaken what's possible.
It is one of my great joys in life to be able to really help individuals and couples find strength in their relationships and really find hope again.
Licensed marriage and family therapist Dr. Adam Mathews from Mathews Counseling.
I work with a wide variety of issues, including depression and anxiety, marital issues, issues with adolescence. I believe that therapy should be designed around you, that it should be personalized to who you are and to your unique situation.
Therapy is available in office, online, and by phone.
I want therapy to be comfortable for everyone. At our office, you'll find that we sit around a fireplace in deep, comfortable chairs, look at the problem differently, and offer practical solutions for you to take home and utilize outside of the therapy room.
Schedule today and rediscover hope.
You can find me on the web at mathewscounseling.net, Mathews with 1 T. You can contact us through email or phone and find a lot of resources on our website, mathewscounseling.net.
back with Foreplay Radio Sex Therapy. Laurie Watson, Dr. Adam Mathews. Okay, so we're talking about this study. Does sex really matter? And especially about how to increase sexual frequency. And we've said that it's a husband's positive behaviors. I will say that marital satisfaction for the male was the highest when a female was physically affectionate, when she was touchy, and also when she displayed receptivity to sexual advances.
Yeah, so positive behaviors, if we're talking about positive behaviors that men need to exhibit, right? And maybe, do you think it's a fair, based on the study, Laurie, to say if everything affects everything, but it sounds like this is a place to start for a couple and for a man in particular, right? That it's not going to be everything, it's not going to be a silver bullet, but it at least gives you a place to begin to look at it if your sexual relationship is not what you want it to be. Right? Is that a fair thing to say, you think?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think what I'm going to hear is a lot of protests, and I get it. It's like the guy will say to me, she's nagging me to death. She wants me to take out the garbage. Okay, now I'm taking out the garbage. There ain't no more sex than there was. He's like, this did not help Laurie. Yeah. And I think the problem is by the time, if you've let things go too long, you need to come back to the relationship in a way that's connected. You have to kind of, this works in the beginning. And the good thing is frankly, one of the things was the way we judge our own happiness in relationship is how we're treating our partner. So if we're treating our partner positively, we personally feel better about the relationship.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so it impacts our partner. We tend to mirror each other. Overall, when we act positively to our partner, it sets an atmosphere that's more conducive for them to act positively toward us. So there's power in this, even if, things have gotten off track.
But that does signal to me, what you're saying there, it does signal to me that I may have to do positive things even when I don't feel like them.
That's right.
That even
to get it back on track.
To get it back on track, I'm not going to necessarily feel like it. My motivation may not fully be there, but if I can soothe myself enough to begin to do those things, that it can begin to turn around. So, what are some things that you think men can do? Some positive behaviors. When we say positive behaviors, what kind of things are we talking about?
Okay, so they listed and they tracked in this study. And it was a really well done longitudinal study. I think they tested it 1 year, end of 2 years, and then end of 13, 14 years or something. And they kept track of these positive behaviors. So they would interview these people on a day-by-day basis for a series of days and have them keep track of this. So the positive behaviors that the study was tracking was saying I love you,
Easy.
Making your partner laugh.
Not as easy. Not everybody's funny.
Yeah, I do have a funny husband. I'm so grateful. Engaging in physical affection outside of intercourse. So touching, holding hands, hugs, kisses, all that. Expressing approval or offering compliments. I hear that so much. People say, my partner just doesn't appreciate me. And, offering approval, like, wow, you're so great with the kids, or I appreciate so much you going to work, that job you hate, or I appreciate how much money you make, or, whatever it is. I appreciate all this.
I think too, compliments, they can be difficult sometimes, especially when you're not. I think a lot of men don't compliment their spouse unless they just feel it. They feel like it's just welling up within them, like an emotional surge or something, and that doesn't ever happen. But I think complimenting your partner on who she is as well is important, not just on what she does.
Or how she looks.
Right?
Although that
those
is
are important,
for
right?
sex, but yeah.
Yeah. I was at a couples workshop this weekend, and they had to get up in turn and share one positive thing about their spouse that they really liked. The first guy got up there, and he said, "Well, of course, my wife is smoking hot," and they all laughed. Everybody laughed, and he went on to say some other things. Well, then the next guy got up there and said, "Well, my wife is smoking hot too," and then all the rest of the men were trapped. They had to say it. But even in that, like, I don't know how you feel about this, but the women's faces still seemed to light up even when they were
making it in jest, or just because they had to.
Even when they were obligated to say it, it still seemed to go a long way.
Just because you had to, I would absolutely take that. Okay.
Sorry.
So other positive behaviors is that they did something nice for their partner. They talked about the day's events. They shared emotions, feelings, and or problems, and they had sex with each other. So notice that all of these things like don't cost any money.
Wait.
Right? They don't cost any money.
But I'm confused though. One of them was the couple had sex. That's a positive behavior.
Yeah, that's counted as a positive behavior.
Okay, well, if you're trying
for both genders, it was considered a positive behavior.
Oh, that is so confusing.
Well, because this was a study on not just frequency, although we know our listeners are interested in that, but it was also concerned with satisfaction, sexual and marital satisfaction, and the impact of positive behaviors, sexual frequency, sexual satisfaction on marital satisfaction, and vice versa.
Right.
How did all these things impact each other? And what stood out as significant?
Right. I guess it's just, I can get that. I think it would just be a confusing message for men to hear that a positive behavior that you can have to have more sex and more meaningful sex is to have sex. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to reconcile that.
So think about a culture of a marriage or a partnership where sex is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a good feeling, and
right.
I mean, ironically, right, those good feelings feed off each other.
Right.
I think also you could say, a partner who says, yeah, I have orgasms, I have sex all the time, but there's this growing distance between us,
mm-hmm.
Because somehow or another they're not connecting. It doesn't necessarily go in terms of wanting them to have more frequent sex. So that's the correlate. It's not just the positive behaviors. It's also the sexual satisfaction which comes when they're emotionally connected.
So having emotionally connected sex.
Yeah, emotionally connected sex.
It would seem to me then
different.
though that when you have that positive behavior, you have to follow it up with the other ones.
Right.
To be able to then have more emotionally connected sex. So it seems like it's all going to feed itself, right?
Right. And the one killer was that, okay, so let's talk about negative behaviors. What are they?
Behaviors that take away,
right. Seemingly bored or uninterested.
That the man is bored or uninterested in his spouse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or no, it's not just male. This is all they managed both ways, both directions, male to female, female to male. These were all heterosexual couples. Or when the conversation was dominated, when they showed irritation or impatience. Oh my goodness, who's not guilty of that?
Yeah.
When they criticized and complained, or failed to do something when they were asked, right? That passive aggressive thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or they did things that were annoying, like bad habits and stuff like that. Those are negative behaviors.
Okay.
But basically, a male who had a temper shut down everything. Like a really big negative behavior would be
an explosive
anger
reaction.
Yeah, and that killed everything.
Not anger as an emotion, but anger as a reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a temper, which is sort of anger out of control, I think.
Yeah.
That was the killer. The way I understood it.
And that was mostly exhibited by a man.
Yeah. Yeah, male, and again, this is gendered. I mean, this study showed things that were different between the sexes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that list, Laurie, which ones for you are the most difficult, you think, for men to do, the positive behaviors? Like, which ones do you think that it's a struggle?
I think that affection outside of the bedroom, outside of sexual intercourse or having sex, seems to be really hard. And, when I see a man who is not touching his wife, it is a really big problem. Like the women will say, he only touches me when he wants to have sex. It has to be a climate of warmth and affection for sex
where sex
to
is
grow.
not expected.
Yeah, a lot of men, and I think this is culturally problematic, right? Because men don't allow themselves to feel the need for touch. they translate that all sexually. So they may not reach out and touch and feel okay about that, but then she's starving and she says, all you want is sex. You only touch me when you want sex. That's real toxic.
I think that's hard, though. I want to defend men a little bit on that, because I think it's really hard, because when I touch my partner and it led to sex, I would be really happy.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily expect sex, right? And I'm talking generally here, but I think men get confused sometimes because they don't expect sex all the time, but when they are physically affectionate, their wife may pull back because they think that he's just wanting sex.
Yeah.
And then, on top of that, there's a physical response that happens to
men
for
when they're
men
touching
when
their wives.
Well, yeah, I mean, when like, if my wife is physically affectionate with me, most of the time I'm going to get an erection.
Right.
Especially if it's any kind of intimate touch. Now, I'm
and
not talking about
if
just
she looks at you and says, "Oh, see, all you want is sex."
That's right.
It's not fair. It's
That's
like
right.
you can't control what your body does.
Yeah,
how
and
your
so
body reacts.
I think that's there's a confusing message there for men that I don't know that we know fully how to overcome that, except by saying men are going to get erections. They're going to look like they're going to be ready for sex. At the same time, I don't know that all men always expect it at every physical touch.
Right, they can't control that, but I still think, lots of touching. Maybe it's holding, maybe it's things that turn you on, but you can walk by your wife in the hall and grab her a little bit, or you can be careful where you grab her.
Respectfully.
Women are going to kill me when they hear that. But I mean, like, spank her gently on her ass. But also say, maybe it's also a okay.
I think maybe we translate what you're saying. I think in some cases that could be okay.
Help me, I'm in trouble.
I think
I'm in trouble with both genders.
I mean, I think that what you're talking about is playful physical touch, which can be good.
Also, but a shoulder rub and just stroking the back of her hair, or stroking her shoulder, or slipping your arms around her waist and not going lower or going higher. I mean, all that kind of affection is beautiful, and a climate of that. I mean, holding her hand. So many women are starving out there telling me their husbands don't hold their hands. That's so sad to me.
Or even sitting next to each other when you're watching TV, putting your arm around her.
Yeah.
For men, one of the things I encourage my clients to do is that there are times where you go into a physical, affectionate encounter with your wife, a back massage, for instance, and you don't expect sex at all. And
you are trying to give.
And that there are times where you may have to be the one that kind of dictates that we're not going to have sex. This is just to be romantic and affectionate.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely not all the time, and not even often, but there has to be times where you accept the no really well, and that you're physically affectionate in a way without that expectation that sex is going to happen, and that you don't rush into it. I think that may be what I would encourage in that discussion.
Right.
And then, like Laurie says, spank her as she's going down the hallway, but only if she likes that kind of thing.
Not a lot of women don't. Okay,
not if she doesn't.
Okay, thanks for listening. This is Foreplay Radio Sex Therapy with your sex therapist, Laurie Watson, and couples therapist, Dr. Adam Mathews. Hey, help us stay on top here at Foreplay. We'd love it if you would subscribe and share it with your friends. And please take 1 sec and rate and review us. Thanks so much.